A warm welcome to today's editorial analysis. The date is 17/8/2024. It is brought to you by Shankar IAS Academy. Displayed here are the list of articles that we are about to discuss. It has been taken from the Hindi newspaper and the explained section of the Indian Express. So without much delay, let's get into the topics. Look at our first editorial article from the Hindu. It talks about India's inflation problem. Let's see why it is in news actually. The article examines India's inflation problem, particularly focusing on the food price inflation and RBI's inflation targeting challenges, criticizing the exclusion of food prices from inflation targets and highlights the need for improved agricultural policies due to the problems like high food prices inflation, which is in link with a small landholding and dependence on monsoon. So with this backdrop, let's understand this article in brief from our prelims and mains perspective. So let us start with the definition of inflation. It is nothing but a sustained increase in the general price level. It actually erodes the purchasing power of the currency. It is a very critical issue in India and especially for the poor. Moving forward, let us see what are the factors contributing to the inflation. The first one is food price volatility. Food prices in India have been highly volatile. For instance, the Consumer Food Price Index, that is CFPI, showed a nearly 10% increase in June 2023. It is actually released by Ministry of Statistics. This is crucial as food constitutes a major part of household expenditure. Next one is agricultural dependence. See, India's agriculture heavily dependent on monsoons, which often faces productivity challenges which impacts the change in the supply of essential goods, etc. The agricultural census of 2021 also reveals that average landholding size is only 1.08 hectares, making it difficult for the small farmers to observe shocks like drought or floods. Then the third major issue is infrastructural constraints. Poor transport, inadequate storage, and inefficient supply chain often increases the prices. The COVID-19 lockdown highlighted these issues with significant post-harvest losses, contributing to inflation. The next and the most important thing is oil price fluctuation. See, the fluctuation on the global crude oil prices have direct impact on the inflation in India. In 2022, the average price of Indian crude basket surged, which led to increased fuel prices domestically, further pushing overall inflation. Moving on, let us see the challenges in inflation targeting. The first thing with respect to policy debate is excluding food prices from RBI targeting. And major criticism leveled against this is because food essentially forms a majority of the spending in the household. So excluding this have been raising many concerns in replicating the exact picture of inflation that prevailing at the national level. The second one is monetary policy limitation. See, RBI always uses 4% inflation target with a plus or minus 2% of tolerance. But the major constraint here is frequent breaches often been reported. The next thing is economic growth versus inflation control. See, inflation is directly or indirectly linked with economic growth of the nation. But managing inflation is also a driver to have sustained economic growth. So there is a need for a complex balance between growth and inflation control, which is a trade-off often been challengingly faced by RBI. And also during the recent pandemic, the RBI took accommodative stand to ensure the growth is neither affected by the pandemic nor being constrained by inflation targets. Moving forward, let us see what are the impacts of inflation on agricultural sector. The first one will be the rising input cost. It has been reported in the economic survey of 2022 and 2023 there has been increase over 20% in the input cost in agriculture due to inflation. The policy response also plays a major role in addressing these challenges because government schemes like Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana were crucial during pandemic in ensuring food security and stabilizing prices, thereby preventing a sharper inflation spikes. And nextly, there is an increasing need for agricultural reforms, majorly because addressing food inflation requires a focus on improved agricultural productivity and infrastructure. The RBI's monetary measures like interest rates alone cannot solve the deep-rooted issue in the agricultural sector. So it is the high time we consider some structural reforms in agricultural sector. So with this, we have holistically covered this editorial in brief. So with this understanding, let us try to address this question. Evaluate the impact of excluding food prices from the inflation targeting framework of Reserve Bank of India on the monetary policy and agriculture. Suggest measures to address the challenges associated with the food price inflation in India. Interested aspirants Please write the answer in the comment section below. So with this understanding, let us move on to our next article for the day. Look at this article. Talks about the bad weather report which has been recently published in the editorial section of Indian Express. This article talks in brief about the global warming and the challenges that we are about to face. So let's get into deep analysis of this editorial topic. So what is global warming? It is a long-term increase in Earth average surface temperature, mainly attributed to the human activities. Moving on, let us see what are the major greenhouse gases. The first one is carbon dioxide, mainly obtained by burning of fossil fuels and deforestation. Nextly, the nitrous oxide. It is released during agricultural practices, industrial process, and fossil fuel consumptions. Then, methane. It is also associated with fossil fuel production, transport, livestock, agriculture, and landfills. Then, the most important one is the fluorinated gases. It is mainly an industrial output used in refrigeration, AC, and other manufacturing process. It has high global warming potential. Moving on, let us see various sources of greenhouse gas emissions. First one is deforestation and land use changes. See, forest clearing reduces CO2 absorption capacity, and land degradation also reduces carbon sequestration. Nextly, the agriculture and livestock. The livestock emission is mainly attributed for methane in the atmosphere. And more importantly, rice paddy cultivation and fertilizer use also been associated with emissions such as methane and nitrous oxide. Nextly, the industrialization and energy consumption. The fossil fuel dependence has been attributed as a major contributor to CO2 emission. In addition, the industrial processes also emit CO2 and other pollutions which are very harmful to maintain present temperatures. The next one is urbanization and transportation. Increased vehicle uses has been reported as a major contributor to carbon dioxide and nitrous oxide emission. And also the infrastructural development has been attributed with energy consumption which leads to global warming and also reduced green spaces. Moving on, let us see some of the important international efforts to maintain global stability with respect to temperature. The first one is United Nations Framework Convention on the Climate Change, shortly known as UNFCCC. It is established in 1992, Rio de Janeiro. Its major objective is to stabilize greenhouse gas concentration. Its mechanism is based on framework for the international negotiation. Nextly, the Kyoto Protocol. See, Kyoto Protocol has been stressed majorly in prelims and also in mains. Recently in mains 2023, there is a question directly from Kyoto Protocol. So please make sure you understand this topic holistic manner. Now coming back to the topic, see, Kyoto Protocol is actually established in 1997. Its major objective is to legally binding emission reduction for the developed countries. See, note that it is for developed countries, the objective has been legally binding and not the developing countries. Its major mechanism includes emission trading, clean development mechanism, and joint implementation. Nextly, the Paris Agreement. It is established in 2015. Its major objective is to limit the global temperature rise to well below 2 degrees Celsius. Its commitments include all countries need to set their own nationally determined contribution, also known as NDC, for reducing emissions and enhance the climate resilience. Its mechanism includes regular reviews of NDC, climate finance for developing countries, and a framework for transparency and accountability. Moving forward, let us see about Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, also known as IPCC. See, it is established in 1988 by WMO and UNEP, that is World Meteorological Organization and United Nations Environmental Program. Its major objective is to provide scientific assessments. It involves scientists in report generation from across the globe. Its major role is to inform the global climate negotiations. Recently, IPCC Assessment Report 6 has been published, so please make a note of it. Moving on, the next one is Green Climate Fund. It is established in 2010. Its major objective is to support developing countries in climate action. It gives financial assistance for migration and adaptation. Now let us see what are the national efforts from Indian perspectives. The first one is the National Action Plan on Climate Change. It is established in 2008. It has 8 missions majorly focusing on solar energy, energy efficiency, agriculture, water management, etc. And its major objective has been sustainable development and climate action through planned implementation. The next one is Nationally Determined Contribution, also known as NDC of India. See, India has pledged to reduce its emission intensity of GDP by 33 to 35% by 2030 and also increase the share of non-fossil fuel-based power capacity and create an additional carbon sink of 2.5 to 3 billion tons of CO2 equivalent through forest cover. The next one is Green Climate Fund. See, it is established in 2010 to finance research and innovative projects in clean energy technologies. Its funding source has been majorly obtained from carbon tax, a levy on carbon production, and its major objective is to finance the clean energy research. Moving on, let us see what are the challenges associated in implementation of clean energy programs. The first one is economic and developmental priorities. See, there is a trade off between growth and environmental sustainability, and the cost of transition also affects the developmental potential of the nation. Second one is technological barriers. Access to technology, insufficient R&D are the major barriers in implementing all the green energy programs. Third one is political will and governance. Frequent barriers to policy continuity and regulatory challenges often creates more challenging atmosphere in implementing any green initiative policies. And the fourth one is climate finance. Insufficient funding and access to funds has been considered as one of the major challenges in the implementation of green energy programs. So with this, we have covered holistically about the challenges faced in the implementation and also a major contribution to the global warming and major initiatives at the national and international levels. So with this understanding, let us see the question. Discuss the international and national efforts undertaken to mitigate the global warming. What are the key challenges in implementing these measures effectively, and how can they be addressed to ensure long-term sustainability? If you guys are interested in answering this question, please write it in the comment section below and we will be providing the review. With this, we have come to the end of this video. That's all for today's discussion. If you like this video, please hit like, share and comment. And if you have any doubts, please don't hesitate to watch this video again. Thank you.